Yeah, going to get going. First of all, we've got today Jeffrey Dahmer's definitive collection shown to us by Cult Collectibles. It's going to be really exciting. Really looking forward to seeing this. Been waiting quite a while. But before we start, if you want to write to inmates like I do, then use the service I use. It's called Jmail. It's fast and it's secure. And it means you don't have to use your home address. That's the main reason why I like it. You get letters sent to your house, but you don't have to give your address to the actual inmates. Don't forget as well, there's a link for the new main channel in the chat. Go and subscribe to that. Try to go to 1,000. Currently on about 750, something like that. Hello, Savannah. Hello, Anders. Thanks for joining, guys. Right, yeah, without further ado, here is Taylor. Hello, mate. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be here again.
Good, man. Yeah, no, you
It's
were
been
actually my first ever interview, I think, but we done it behind closed doors a bit more, didn't we?
Yeah, it's quite a while ago. I think that I was definitely a little less established.
Yeah,
but
always been doing great stuff, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to ask, right? So you've basically got the biggest collection of Jeffrey Dahmer murderabilia there's probably ever going to be. Pretty
Yeah.
certain about that, and there ever has
Mm.
been. Before we
Yeah.
actually get into looking at any of it, can I just ask, how do you even come about getting it? How did it come into your? How did you acquire it?
This one was like a bit of luck and a bit of hard work. I got an email from somebody saying, "Hey, I've got this, and this thing. I wonder if you're interested. It's all Dahmer related." And it set off red flags because his stuff is always, there's not much out there. Whenever somebody says, "Oh, I have this," and it's at such a high level, I get worried that okay, they're just trying to get me to send them some money and make off with it, right? So I said, well, send me some photos. Let's talk on the phone, and we got to talking for a while. Talked to for a few days actually, and I was able to confirm through that yeah, this is their story fully checks out. The stuff checks out, and I think they just found me online because I've been I guess a bigger name in dealing in this kind of stuff for the past few years. So sort of we intersected at a good point. He decided, hey, I want to sell some of this stuff, and found me. And it was right when I was kind of getting enough exposure that people could look me up and find me organically online without being like a follower or anything. Yeah, so we talked for a bit, worked out a deal to get the things here because there was a lot of work with cataloging and organizing stuff. And I've spent a few months working on that, 3 months or so, just on organizing and getting everything, cross-checking things, and seeing what things go together, if that makes sense. And yeah, now, so I think just last week I started putting a few things live on the site, and now I'm it's public. I'm spreading the word.
Yeah, cool, man. When you say things go together, do you mean like making like selling items together? Is that what you're on about?
Somewhat. Some of it is, I'd say, more like, matching envelopes to letters from
Right. Okay.
legal people, or matching. There's some like large documents with a few pages missing, matching those things together, or even things like things that Jeff has talked about in interviews or that have been written about in books. There's certain items that also reference things there to be able to be like, oh, he talked about this, or he mentioned this, or somebody brought this up. Just drawing any of those connections to kind of really get the full history of each individual item.
Yeah. And like this last question before we actually get to it, I promise we'll get to it. But have you learned a lot?
Oh yeah. I feel like not only in terms of if I were to be authenticating these items for somebody else, but in regards to there's definitely a lot of information here that isn't public, or things that are public and they got a few facts wrong, a few details. I've found quite a bit already. I'm sure there's more, as there's so much content here to kind of read through. But that's like the most exciting part of this whole thing, is being able to learn those new facts and to learn the information that nobody has, right? And that kind of all of that info is sort of compiled now, and I'm working with some documentary people in regards to getting that out there, because it's not often you find new information on a case like this, right? So whenever there are new little tidbits, yeah, it's going to be really cool for me, at least, to see those things kind of come to light and become public knowledge for the first time.
Yeah, it makes sense. This is like up there with Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez. It's like the upper echelon of like true crime story, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
huge.
Oh, for
So
sure.
yeah, I was wondering, people in the chat will ask some questions at the end, if that's okay. So if you've got any questions, just
Of
save them till
course,
the
yeah.
end. But yeah, I was wondering can you show us some stuff, please?
Yeah. I'll go through kind of a little pile of things I brought over here. So there's a lot of things from different parts of his life. There's pre-prison items. There's items from when he was in prison, items from after he was in prison, things from his prison cell. So I tried to get like a little bit of a variety of things to kind of show off. Some of the stuff is listed on the site right now. Some of it isn't. But yeah, I wanted to let people know too that Jeff's stuff is really top shelf, super expensive generally, but there's a lot of things here that are smaller items, so to say. So please take a look at the site when you have time. If you're interested in getting like a small little thing, there's going to be a lot of kind of budget items too. So I have a couple of things here that I think are really cool. This here is a postcard sent to Jeff in prison. He obviously received a lot of fan mail. I'll show you the letter here too that goes with it. He received a lot of letters from a lot of people, and from what I can tell, he would go through everything. He would open it up, take a look at it. I think especially if there was money, take the money out, because people were giving money to his accounts. But yeah, there's just pages and pages and pages of letters from people all around the world. A lot of them just kind of not no names, but non-familiar names, and then some of them are actually names of people who letters that are on the market now, or items on the market now. You can match to you could probably match some of the letters that people have in their private collections to letters here, which is super cool. It's neat to kind of see the other side of that window, right?
Yeah, definitely. So that is the part you never see, isn't it? I've never seen any of that before.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody has. It's he received tons of mail, so he would go through it, open it up, and then every once in a while it would go home with Lionel, because you can only have so much stuff in your cell, right? And he was getting a decent amount of mail. So going through that's really cool. Just seeing the kind of people. I think writing inmates now is probably more popular than it ever has been. But to see the amount of people who wanted to talk to him even then is really neat. It's really interesting.
Can I say as well? Can I just ask, do you reckon? Because you mentioned like Dahmer letters, and I've seen them like thousands of pounds. Like they're very, very expensive. Would you say that your collection, well, not your collection, but the collection that you've got, would you say that's going to raise the price or lower the price of these things now?
I don't think it's going to. So I think it might, if anything, raise the price, just because a lot of the stuff hasn't been out there before, and his case has kind of the most interest ever right now. There's a new series coming out on Netflix soon. I think his father's book just got republished. Like, his case is always one of the big ones, always popular, and there's never been things for people to buy, because even if the letters are out there and expensive and for sale, most people hold on to them, right? So like there isn't enough stuff here to flood the market, but I think there's enough to draw some real interest and to bring people in who might not be at the level where they want to spend that much on one of his letters, right? I think that almost in a way it can get people hooked a little bit, having the cheaper items, because they go, oh, I'd love to have a postcard that was sent to him, or a letter sent to him, or a print or a copy of this, and then that sort of builds some natural momentum as it goes along.
Cool.
Yeah. So these, I'll show you these quickly. These are the original photos that Lionel used for his book, A Father's Story. And this one particularly is a little fuzzy. The photo itself is a little fuzzy. just blown up from a small one. But so he had a few pages of photos in his books, and I think they were all printed in black and white. So to see, first of all, the originals are obviously a bit higher quality and they're larger, but to see them in color is that one, not these next ones are in color. To see them in color is super cool for me, because it's the first time anyone's seen these in color, aside from like literally just Lionel, maybe the publishers. This is Jeff's grandparents outside gardening.
Wow.
And then this one, I believe this was on the cover of some of the versions. This is Lionel on a bike with Jeff in the basket.
Yeah, I've seen that picture. I recognize that picture a lot.
It's really cool to see in color. There's one version online right now that's it's really, really bad. It looks like somebody took a photo of the picture, so it's very bad saturation, bad color. But this is it's I always like I feel like it's important, and the thing that I get really excited about is being able to find those things in their original form, in the highest quality form, right? To preserve them as good as possible. Some things are just like saved from a newspaper, so yeah, going through originals is definitely I feel very grateful and lucky to be doing this. So this one, I'll say really quick too, the collection as it came to me, it was kind of sort of all mixed together from different times of his life and different items. So as I was sorting through, I could kind of group it like, prison time, before prison. These are a few pre-prison items. This is a Mother's Day card from Jeff to his mother, Joyce. I'll actually...
To my loving, most protective and helpful mother through my life. Wow.
Yeah, it's all my love, your son. This was really fascinating to see, because not only are there not really many examples of his handwriting from when he was younger, but there's been a few cards from prison that he had signed and sent to people. But aside from that, there aren't many cards out there. Far fewer than there are letters, and there's definitely not any personal family connection items like that. So having that here is just it's one of those things. It's just brand new, first time seeing it ever, So that's what I'm excited about bringing this stuff to people for. This is one of the coolest items for sure in the whole collection. This is a 4-page school essay that Jeff did. You can see his sign here in the corner, Jeff Dahmer.
Yeah.
It's an essay on volcanoes and the earth and the crust of the earth and stuff. But it's four full pages of handwriting, which you never see from his time in high school. I think online there's a couple of photos of signatures he did in yearbooks, and I'll see people all the time kind of analyzing that, being like, whoa, look at his handwriting. Handwriting experts will cue in and be like, yeah, this is signs of alcoholism or signs of what's to come, so to say, based on just small sentences. So to see this much writing, it's very cool. And you can even compare this to his letters from his time in prison are very, very similar. His handwriting, it was pretty consistent his whole life.
Yeah.
It's this is one of those ones that's like feels like a real historical thing to have, to see a pre-crime item,
And how old was he when he done that, roughly? About 15 or something?
Yeah, something like that. It must have been, I think, early high school. Doesn't have a date exactly, but
it's around
you can
there.
kind of sort of roughly estimate some things like that, yeah. And when it comes to the market, things being for sale or in private collections too, there isn't anything aside from prison letters, right? Prison handwriting. So finding stuff from before that is always, a treat.
Can I ask as well, have you? I don't mean to be always asking about the value stuff, but I always find it's what I find really interesting. What have you valued that letter at? Is that on your shop now, by the way? Is that on your website?
That one is on the site, yeah. I'll check really quickly because I don't want to give a wrong number.
By the way, guys, the link to the site and also Cult Collectibles on Instagram is in the description. So if you want to have a look yourself whilst watching this, go in the description and have a look there.
I'm just gonna search it up really quick so I get the right
Yeah, no
info.
worries. I just find it interesting. It's like the letters are very expensive, so I imagine
Oh yeah,
something like that. That's an absolute like relic. Like you're never gonna see that again. That's pretty much a one-off
no,
buy, isn't it? And I suppose there's
yeah.
loads of one-off buys.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really. This is the only school project that is in this whole collection, and I would assume the only one um, that's been saved, right?
Yeah,
I have this one listed on the site right now for 20,000. But when it comes to all of the higher end items for this
yeah,
Dahmer stuff, I have my email on all those listings as well. When it comes to the higher items, I always like to speak with somebody privately, maybe figure something out a bit differently, because
yeah.
when people are at that point where they're spending that much, usually they have to grab a bunch of stuff, right? They just say, "Hey, I got all this money. Give me all these things." So, um, for this next
That
one
is,
here,
it's fair. I understand, but it is also like blows my mind as well. You know what I mean? It is,
yeah,
it is.
oh yeah,
But obviously, no, it's never going to come up ever again. And I've just seen normal letters
oh
sell
yeah,
for a few grand, so like it makes
oh
sense.
for sure. So this is Lionel's personal copy of Jeff's psychiatric assessment, and you can see it's massive here. I'll do a little flip through and see if I
Absolutely
can find some
huge.
interesting things. Oh yeah, it's massive. So Lionel was very good with, at least from what I can kind of tell from what's in this collection, he seemed to be very good with keeping records and keeping track of things. He saved a lot of newspaper clippings, and he saved a lot of articles. He taped things off of TV. I mean, this is literally just all text, but so it's his full copy. I don't know if I know his confession has been published. I don't know if this has ever been published or public
Yeah.
information, or even if that. I don't know if this is if possibly there's more things in here that didn't make the cut, so to say. That didn't all get through. So that's a very cool one to see.
Have you read through it?
No, I haven't read through everything yet.
Yeah.
I would like to, but just the time I've put in so far with this, it's been 3 months of full-time work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting through things as I go. Yeah, there's just so much that I can't necessarily. I'll get to it eventually, But, so this one here, speaking of big documents, this is Jeff's full confession of the crimes. This is Lionel's copy of that. And I believe that these have been published before in a book. But so you can see here, so these 5 pages specifically, it's like a 5-page copy of the police report about one of the specific murders.
Right.
And each here's a one of 3, 3 of 5. It's a groups of documents, groups of legal documents, and each one of these is one of the different homicide confessions in the detail of what he did, when he did it, and yeah, this it is public knowledge, but this is Lionel's personal copy that he got from the Milwaukee police.
And so you do keep mentioning Lionel. Is this like, is this all his, or was it all his at some point?
Yeah, it was. He is not. He's an older guy, and he kind of wrote his book and retired, and just does his own thing. So he kind of passed off the items to some people a long time ago. Said, "Hey, I don't want this stuff in here. Get rid of it. Throw it out." And they said, "Well, there's probably something important here. Can we keep it?" And he said, "Yeah. My understanding is that he was like, yeah, sure, whatever." And then, so they had it for several years, and then came from him directly. They've had it for several years, and they finally decided, well, he gave it to us. Let's do something with it. There's going to be some things in here that are going to be, I guess they figured that destroying it would be a bit of a waste, right? Because there's some people are going to want these things for their own collections. Some people are going to want to be able to study this stuff, and to be able to bring all the new information to light. So yeah, when they kind of decided, oh, let's get this out there, then that's when they got in touch with me, brought it over to me, and I'm managing it for them. I'm kind of the a bit more of an expert of this industry, so I could kind of figure out, well, this might be of interest to these people, and these items might be of interest to a documentary crew, and I'm able to kind of tell what is new information versus what is old information. What has been seen, what hasn't been seen. Yeah, so that was my last 3 months, was basically just kind of figuring all that stuff out for them. Was figuring out, okay, what's new here, what's old, what's going to be of value to preserve in some kind of museum or some kind of historical setting.
And so Lionel is aware that this is happening, isn't he?
Uh, yeah. He's aware that he gave it away, and he said, "Do whatever you want." So
right. Okay.
Whatever
okay,
happens
okay.
is
so
like,
it's not like
yeah.
Okay, I understand.
No, nobody broke in and robbed his house and took his stuff. He just kind of was like, do whatever, So
Yeah.
I don't know the exact details of his knowledge of it, but I know that he's just
yeah.
It was he was going to throw it in the garbage, or these people were going to take it, and he gave it to them. So
cool.
So the next thing I have here is, and it's a bit old and busted up. This is a tape recorder that Lionel used to record all of his pretty much once the case started. Once Jeff was arrested, he decided, okay, I'm going to start archiving things. So he was, keeping all of his legal documents, keeping all of his letters, and he got a microcassette recorder to record phone calls with Jeff in prison, as well as phone calls with people when he was working on his book. He was calling editors a lot, people who were involved in legal issues, any kind of court-related thing, or any kind of medical thing, just whatever, anything related to Jeff. Essentially, he sort of decided to take it upon himself to create a bit of an archive for his own personal records. So that kind of, I guess, the whole collection is kind of that. Is that these things that Lionel decided, okay, I'm going to make a point to keep this all in order, because it could be useful down the road, And then he used all the information for his book, and then it just kind of sat for however many years since then.
Mm-hmm. Have you got the tapes as well?
Yeah, there's some tapes here. There's some companies looking at the audio, because there's some new information on there. So that's one of those things that's kind of it's in a bit of a I'm not a contract, but it's
don't worry. What's it like though? Like
for a minute, yeah.
What's it like when you're listening to that though? Because surely you've sat and listened to it on your own.
Yeah, I've listened to all of it. It's a lot of it is just like, after a certain 10, 20, 30 hours, it's like, okay, it's just some people talking. But then when conversations with Jeff come around, obviously it's super interesting, because people have heard bits and pieces of conversations, interviews with him in prison. But I mean, you got to keep in mind that when he was in prison, there was the Nancy Glass interview. I think the Philip Stone interview was the other one. He didn't really do much media stuff. He didn't really have time to do much media stuff, and then he was killed. So finding any kind of new information from that time period is always exciting, right? And to have, there's some tapes from that time. There's also, letters from the prison warden to Jeff, or inmate performance reports, and that kind of show a bit more of his day-to-day life in prison. When the media was kind of like, after his trial was done, he went to prison, 2 years passed, he got killed. You don't really have much information from that time. So compiling all that kind of stuff together is what I've been pretty interested in. Sort of, I can set everything up in sort of a timeline, of how things progressed in his life, and how things progressed through prison,
And can I ask, if you can't say this, don't worry, but like, what was his life like? Have you got like a sense of what it was like in those 2 years when he was in prison?
It was, yeah, it seems like he was just really getting used to it. I mean, obviously I've written as well, but you've written a lot of inmates, and certain people who just get to prison, it's obviously a different experience than somebody who's been there for 20, 30, 40 years, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of it is it seems to be just he's kind of adjusting, trying to figure out how to get books to read, trying to figure out he was in special segregated care, I guess, for a long time, under observation a lot. And because he was such a high-profile inmate, he was um, segregated from the rest of the prison population. He wasn't in Gen Pop for a long time. Um, so it's a lot of it is about him trying to get into general population because it was harder to get cigarettes where he was, and he just wanted to have. He sort of wanted to be on track for a more normal prison life,
And
which
that's what
obviously didn't.
eventually, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what eventually killed
didn't
him,
end
isn't
well
it?
for him.
Really?
Yeah, so it's kind of like you kind of get to see a picture of like I'm kind of not comfortable yet, trying to settle in, trying to get used to the normal, and then yeah, and then he was killed, so it never really got to that point where he was there. Never got to that point where he was there all the time, where he was making friends or having a routine, so to say.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, can we see some more items, please?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So this one is very cool. I just posted this the other day. Um, then it got taken down from my Instagram, and they threatened to ban me. So I don't know why this specifically. So this is a never before seen picture. It's on your thumbnail there. Obviously, I shared it with you of Jeff
Sorry, of,
and
of all the
Lionel.
items you were going to potentially say, then I didn't expect it to be that picture that was going to get you banned from Instagram.
No, I know, right? It's just a photo. Um,
Yeah.
I think what happened is just because it's the first time this has ever been posted, so it got a lot of popularity. It got a lot of interest, and then because of that, people were like, "Oh, it's related to true crime stuff," and any kind of true crime stuff is a little iffy. But um, yeah, so you got Jeff looking very normal, like a very ordinary, sweet family photo.
Mm-hmm.
You can see on the back, 1973 when Jeff was 13, Dave was 7. Lionel's age isn't there, but I'm sure it can be figured
Worked
out.
out.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but and I mean they're in matching turtlenecks. It's like a very you don't see many. There's not too many photos of him from this age. There's
Mm-hmm.
some his yearbook photos and stuff, but to find something new like this was very, very, very cool to see. And yeah, it
Yeah.
was exciting to be able to share this for the first time ever in the world
Yeah.
publicly. Um, so this one here is very cool. Um, this is a Bible, one of Jeff's Bibles. He had quite a few. Um, one of the items in this collection is a list of the inventory from his cell at the time of his death, and it has listed a certain amount of Bibles, which are all here. So that's great because in selling these, I can include a list of include a copy of that list to say, hey, this is legitimate, this is real. Here it is listed from his cell. It's got a lot of pages flagged and underlines and notes and stuff in here, mostly just underlining and highlighting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the coolest thing, and maybe the most grim thing in the whole collection, rather, is he has a. I'll read it here and I'll show you the dedication. He has a dedication he wrote in the front. I guess wrote it himself as his own little kind of note. It's signed Jeff L. Dahmer and then says, "May God have mercy on my soul. I'm sorry for my sins. Forgive me, Lord. I've done foul things." You can see right
Wow.
here. So that's kind of his direct sort of like
Yeah.
atonement, I guess, or his way of confessing or making his peace with God. Because he was a religious guy his whole life. But when he was in prison, he definitely got more extreme with it.
I was going to
You can
ask,
see.
like, was he actually religious until prison? Because obviously a lot of people find God inside, don't they? But
Yeah, he he
fair enough.
he was. He was. It just wasn't like the biggest part of his life. It was always his belief system, I think. And then when he was in prison, he kind of had time to, I think, reflect on all the stuff he had done. And he was able to I don't know if I'd say come to terms with it, but I think it was easier for him to accept religion at that point because he knew, like, okay, I'm not doing these sins anymore. I'm not doing these evil things. Now I'm just here, and I have to do something with this energy. I have to
Of course.
um yeah, just what am I trying to say? He was able to put a bit more focus on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I have the last thing I have out right here in front of me. The coolest thing probably in the whole collection. Um, this case, this is also listed on that inventory list that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
These are his glasses from his cell at the time of his death.
Wow.
So from what I can make of it, it's obviously hard to show glasses on a webcam, but from the best I can make of it, he had two pairs of glasses. He had reading glasses and he had everyday to day glasses. And the everyday to day glasses were what he would have been wearing at the time he was killed. And those would have been, I guess, reported in the autopsy and gotten rid of with his clothes and stuff. And then these were the ones that were in his cell separately. So these were the ones that he used to study books, or he used to read all his books, his Bibles, write letters and stuff. He wore all day while he was in his cell.
I definitely
Yeah.
recognize those glasses from pictures. I don't know if they were
Oh,
just generic ones that they all had, but I definitely recognize Dahmer wearing those glasses.
yeah, they're pretty iconic looking ones. They're
Yeah.
I mean, when people think of Jeff, this is like the first thing they kind of think of, right?
Yeah.
And there's been people before who have said that they have his glasses, and then maybe for all that I know they could, but there's never any kind of connection otherwise than they have old glasses that look like his. This is the first time there's been a pair that are documented, that are came from a collection with the paperwork from the prison saying, yeah, this is his personal possession, right?
Yeah.
So to have that kind of backed up is yeah, it's very wild. These aren't listed for sale right now. They're this is a kind of private sale item for sure. But
Can I ask if you can answer? If you can't answer, don't worry. But what kind of ballpark are we talking about in value?
It's sort of hard to say. I've negotiated with a few people, so I have some ideas in mind. But yeah, I can't really say for sure until until they're gone, because there's never been something comparable, right?
Yeah.
There's never been glasses sold with documentation, with all the info to back it up. I know that a pair of Ted Bundy's glasses sold for $50,000 to Zach Bagans. He has them at his museum now.
Has Zach Bagan's been in touch, by the way? He must be well after some of that stuff.
He could be. I don't know. He could be. I can't say anything about it.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry, man.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, so it's kind of like certain things you can compare to. You can compare letters, you can compare certain documents, but yeah, when it comes to this kind of stuff that's one of a kind, just like this, it's I mean, what are you gonna look at for a price, right?
Yeah.
It kind of just has to be negotiated by what somebody wants to pay for it.
Of course, yeah. Can I ask a question about the glasses as well? Can
Oh, yeah.
What are they like? Are they super strong? Does he have really bad eyesight?
Yeah, they're pretty. I can maybe show you the side here. They're pretty decently thick lenses. If you can kind of see, they're like, if I were to put these on, I can't see anything. They taper out very thick at the sides. That might be a better view, but yeah, his vision definitely wasn't. They're not reading glasses in the way that I have reading glasses, where mine help me focus up a little more. These are like, you could not read a single thing if you didn't have these on.
And is there any wear on them? Are they're pretty pristine quality?
They're kind of old. They're kind of. I mean, they look like they've been sitting in a box in a basement for 20 years, right? They're sort of dirty and grimy, and there might have been like a bit of water damage or flooding in there in the past,
Yeah.
But they look. I mean, I think that they look exactly like you would expect glasses of this age to look. There definitely had some wear, went through some use for sure.
Guys, can you get your questions in for me, please? And Taylor, I've got one more question for you.
Oh yeah.
There's an item which you didn't want to bring in to the country. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's the other big thing here. Because of the legalities of this kind of stuff, I'm not super well versed in it, so I didn't want to take any kind of risk, right? So it's at a different location right now for the time being. It's Jeff's urn from his cremation that you would have. It's like a very standard kind of the tin urn you would get from a funeral home. And his ashes were spread, but there is a bit still in there. I think that for Charles Manson, for instance, when he was cremated, people split up his ashes and sold them all over the place. This was just something that was just there happened to be a bit left in there after everything was spread and everything was said and done. So that's an item that I think definitely has a lot of historical significance to it, and like no one's ever going to see anything like that ever again, right? So that that is in the process of kind of figuring out where it should go, who it should go to, how and if it can be displayed publicly or sold publicly. I think that's the one that's going to be the most time to figure out the best thing to do that can be both respectful as well as fully covered legally, right? That'll be a cool one to share images of in the future for sure.
So like, would you say the urn is the most viable monetary value out of everything?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it all depends on what somebody's interested in paying for anything, right? But in regards to being, it's so unique. It's
dead, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I know that Ramirez, his ashes are on display. I know that Gacy's brain, somebody has that, and people are always trying to buy it. I know when it comes to those things, it's always a big deal because you don't really get any closer to the crimes than that, right? You don't really get any more of a connection than that. So, in regards to actual numbers, it's a bit abstract. Can't really contemplate on that too much right now, but it definitely, I think people, even just hearing it, would kind of think like, oh yeah, that's the big thing, that's the big one.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I'm going to take a question from Craig, and it's a bit of an ethical question, I suppose. It says, there's obviously a lot of money being made on this collection. Is there any provision or donations being made to the families of the victims?
I'm the middleman here in this. I'm not really making a big amount of money. I'm not really doing too much. It's the owners of the items that are, and I'm not sure what their plans are exactly. I honestly just haven't asked too much about it because I just wanted to kind of get everything in order and help them get this out there. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were doing something like that. It would understandably be the case. But with this collection specifically, it's just such like it's going to be it's not like a ton of money and make all the money right now. It's long time project, right? Little things will go here and there. Eventually a big thing will happen. So that kind of just depends, I think, on what they decide to do later on after there's been some more attention to it, and some of the bigger things have kind of started piquing the interest of people.
I think it's fair to say as well. I think it's fair to say about you is you're going to get paid for your time of like helping to do it. Like I say, it's long term, but for you, it's more of like a passion project, isn't it? You don't own these items, like you say, you're the middleman.
No,
and it's more for you for like learning and like sharing this knowledge and being like the custodian, I suppose, isn't it? Because you are like playing a very important part in the knowledge of the story. So I suppose that's what you're getting from it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've already spent 3 months working on this full time for free, right? Like there's been no money from it. It's just been working on figuring out where things go. So all I'm trying to do is be able to sort of recoup that. Make sure I can get my bills paid, because if I don't have
Yeah,
a
of
place
course.
to work, if I don't have an office, then I can't do any of this stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a big lottery cash out win. It's a matter of the history is what's important to me. Getting things into
Yeah.
museums was my first kind of goal when I started this, and I've done that now with certain items, and not from this collection, different collections, but now I working with documentaries and working with like information things and getting things preserved forever somewhere is what's important to me. What my focus is,
Yeah. Okay, got another question from
Oh yeah.
Savannah. Do you, in a way, consider yourself a modern historian?
Yeah. I mean, I basically, with my site, just with everything I do, kind of just evolved naturally, right? I used to be a reseller. I would sell collectibles on eBay and stuff. And then as I started buying things, I was gravitating towards stuff I was more interested in. So I was collecting, true crime newspapers and magazines and comics. One of the first things I got was the Charles Manson Life magazine. The big cover with his face, that iconic photo. I found one of those at a thrift store, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I'm going to look for this kind of stuff. And then as that collection built, I made it called Collectibles because eBay's pretty strict about that kind of stuff. So as I went on and on, it was more about just kind of getting all of those things, collecting things, trading up for other things that I wanted, selling things to buy other things. But as I started getting into more bigger collections, like some of the Heaven's Gate stuff that I've worked with, where there's like new paperwork nobody's seen, or some of the rare Jonestown newspapers, as I've gone, I've been putting much more focus into scanning things and creating backups of everything. Any kind of letters, any kind of information or new documents or things, I always keep a record of that. So I'm trying to preserve all the aspects that obviously documentaries have done so much stuff, and books and podcasts, but all the information people don't have, right? Nobody's seen letters to Jeff in prison, so all the things that I think that with this collection especially, I've moved more into a bit of a historian and somebody who works in like the preservation of artifacts, so to say.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's fair to say, and I think also I've not seen letters to anyone. Never mind Jeffrey Dahmer. Just I've never seen letters to anyone. That's a whole new ball game, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is from Anders. Have you used any of Dahmer's objects in seances?
I feel like I've got enough dark negative stuff going on around here that I don't need to push any buttons, I don't need to try and invoke any kind of negative things, so no. But I guess if I was going to do something spooky, that would be like kind of the top of the list of how to do it.
Okay. Where are Ramirez's ashes? Because I didn't know they're on display either. To be fair,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know the exact location, but I have heard somebody has them in a museum. So they might not be. They might not even be on display. To be honest, I could be wrong about that. I just know somebody has them in a private collection. That like the private collection of a museum. So it could be on display with them, or it could be in their storage unit or something. They haven't put it out yet, but I heard that. I heard that quite a while ago. I don't know details at all.
Just a quick shout out to Mary. Mary, just so you know, we asked that question at the start. How did he get the actual? Oh, mind you, I suppose it's saying something else actually. Okay, I'll get to that question in a bit. Okay, this one's from Craig saying, have you any plans to write a book documenting the things you have owned, sold, or brokered?
No, I don't have any plans, but it seems like it kind of at some point in my life, I'm sure it'll make sense, because it seems like every year the frequency of cool collections that I find, or the rarity of items seems to increase. Um, so I think that the stories behind a lot of those things, like the getting the collection of all the books from the Heaven's Gate mansion that were found in a storage unit, or like meeting people who were who knew like people who are married to inmates, or people who used to know inmates or knew them before they went to prison. Like I do a lot. Most of my job is networking and that kind of stuff. And I feel like for the reasons of people's privacy, I don't want to be too forthcoming with information like that. But I definitely feel as though at some point, reflecting back on it, there's I don't know if I do it, but there's way more than enough content to provide an interesting story of like this industry kind of in a whole. I think a lot of people have done documentary projects and book projects and small things about the murderabilia in general, but there hasn't really been like a memoir of somebody doing that, telling their story throughout it. So I mean, if I don't do it, I hope somebody does, because it'd be cool to read for sure.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Then I'm just going to ask this one now, just because it's relating to that. Michael's Workshop. Hello, mate.
Mm-hmm.
What books from the Heaven Gate Mansion? Well, what are the books? I suppose he's asking.
Oh, yeah. So I got contacted by somebody who said, "Hey, my uncle had a storage unit. We went to go clear it out. We found a pallet full of books, and they had this Heaven's Gate stamps inside of it. We didn't know what it was, so maybe you can help me out." Or well, they were posting it saying, "Is anyone interested in buying this?" And then I got in touch with them, and we talked about it quite a bit. But what had happened is in 1999, they did an auction of all the items from the estate, and they gave all the money to the families affected by Heaven's Gate. And they sold, like, they sold the bunk beds, they sold all the flatware, all the household items. And then they had books as well. Like they had their own library of books there. So each one of the books from the mansion, they put an embossed stamp in the front cover saying property Heaven's Gate estate auction or whatever, and a little certificate of provenance I typed up and slipped in each one saying, yeah, this comes from this collection. And yeah, somebody had bought them at the auction in 1999, put them in a storage unit for however many years, and then last year, the year before, I got in touch with the person and ended up working out a deal again to kind of work with them selling those books. So they're they're all kinds of books, all kinds of things. A lot of them are obviously UFO or extraterrestrial conspiracy theory related, but or just like miscellaneous religious books. There are a few dozen of them. There's not that many left now, but yeah, I think the whole story behind that is super interesting too. Like that's a good thing that would make for an interesting story in some format at some point, whether it be a video or a book or anything.
Yeah. Cool. Marcus has asked. I'm going to ask both questions in one. What's your favourite item you own, and have you got any secret items? Which probably won't be a secret if you tell us, but have you got any like?
Yeah, I have. Well, I have. It's regards to secret items. I got a box of things. I got some personal things that I keep private. Just because it's first and foremost, this is my job right now, right? It became from a hobby into a job, and so to keep the kind of the passion for it and the energy and excitement for it, to keep that alive, I have a little bit of an outlet with some like private stuff. It's not all necessarily like super wild items, but it's just things that are important to me for whatever reason. At whatever point in collecting or doing a deal, I kept a thing or two. So that's like that little stash is just like my like fun part of this job. In regards to a favorite thing, it kind of changes all the time, honestly. I'll get something that I think is so great, and then a week later I get something else that's cool, and the other thing's boring, or I'll sell an item. But I have a big folder of Jonestown items, of documents from the People's Temple when they were in San Francisco, of clothing tags from in Guyana, stationery and envelopes, things like just like documents and photos and original things like that. That was my first thing that I was really collecting. That really got me into collecting. And so I've kept quite a lot of that stuff. I try and keep like one of each item when it comes to People's Temple stuff. It's the one thing that when something new comes up relating to Jim Jones or the People's Temple or Jonestown, when there's something new out there, I get excited about it because if it's something I haven't seen before, it's generally pretty unique.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I've got two more questions. One's from Mary saying, suppose this is a bit off topic slightly, but it's not, it's still Dahmer. Do you think Dahmer was born this way or was he made that way? What's your personal opinion on that?
What I think happened, and I don't know if this is like generally the most kind of accepted theory, but the way it seems to me is that when he got into puberty, things just got crossed. Like for whatever reason, he had an interest in animals, roadkill at the time that he hit puberty, and I think that if he had been through puberty and he got an interest in that, or if it was beforehand and he had an interest in that, it wouldn't have had an effect. But because your hormones are so kind of out of whack at that time, I think that something just got crossed. The wires just got crossed in his head because it was a consistent thing from that time when he was in puberty until his adult life. Obviously, it just became more of a desire. So yeah, what I think, and I'm not scientifically minded at all. I don't have any real understanding of this kind of stuff, but it makes sense to me that he got interested in that stuff. It just happened to be the wrong hobby at the wrong time, you know? Maybe he would have been a taxidermist otherwise, you know, or a biologist, right? But because it was when he was having all these weird, confusing sexual feelings happening, things just got crossed up.
Yeah, that's a fair answer as well. Last question I'm going to take from Autumn. Do any of these items have strange energy to them, or do you not believe in things like that?
I don't personally believe in that kind of thing. I had no problem with people wanting to, but for me personally, like I've had so many things, so many like grim, dark objects or like things related to heavy cases pass through my hands. I never felt any kind of heebie-jeebies, so to say, from it. I think that I think that maybe that's something that you'd be more in tune to if you were looking for that kind of thing. If you were coming into it thinking, oh, this is a dark item, it's related to this thing, but because it's like it's a hobby, obviously, but it's also a job for me. Because as a job, it's just it's for me the same as any other kind of inventory I could be selling, any other things I could be selling. They're just physical things as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Taylor. I appreciate you showing us the items and talking to us today. Appreciate it.
Great.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please go subscribe to the new main channel. Links in the chat there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you.